All right, Daily Merge, December 20th, the night version. Usually this will be an op-ed or opinion. I'm going to do a little bit different. Talking about Aleppo today, giving you more of just the rundown of what's happening there because it's been in the news. It's very confusing, it's very convoluted, but I wanted to sort it out and get it to you guys. So here's what I got for you. Aleppo is a city in Syria that has faced some pretty brutal violence as a part of the Syrian civil war, which has been going on for several years now. And the stories that are recently coming out in the last few months are as bad as they can get. The targeting of civilians, airstrikes, kids getting bombed on their way to school. The worst of war has descended onto Aleppo. What is interesting is the players. So, as part of the civil war, you're going to have the government in power. That is Assad and his army. So if you hear me use the word army, that's Assad. That's the official forces, if you will. And he is backed by Vladimir Putin in Russia. Iran has announced that they're sided with them. So, generally speaking, the bad guys, right? Russia, Iran, Assad. Assad is the gentleman who used chemical weapons on his own people, which Obama said would be a red line. And then Obama did nothing because he's gutless, and I suppose that's opinion, but it was one of the few times in Obama's presidency where I really, really didn't like the direction that he went. He made a statement and then did nothing when it was pushed. So that's the army, that's the one side. So the other side, you have rebel forces, and we are arming, backing, supporting, and engaged with rebel forces, which also puts us kind of in a proxy war with Russia, which is why things are so tense with Putin and all of that, but that's a much broader topic. But we are backing rebel forces, so that seems all fine, well and good, right? We know the bad guys, and we are the good guys against Assad and against Russia, against anyone that Iran is for. So that seems on the surface to make sense, and Western media has toted that card that the rebels are the good guys, and we're going to support the rebels and limit Assad's power. Fine. The rebels, oddly enough, are comprised, at least in part, not all of them, but at least in part, of Al-Qaeda. The same Al-Qaeda we just spent a decade telling the American people that we had to absolutely eliminate because they were a clear and present danger to domestic civilian life in the United States of America. That Al-Qaeda is now, again, at least a de facto part ally because we are backing rebel forces and some rebel force fighters are Al-Qaeda. Off the cuff, if you're wondering how ISIS fits in, they are a bunch of douchebags that no one likes. Assad doesn't like them. The rebel forces don't like them. So they are present and roaming in the area as well, causing hell. I certainly don't need to go into details of their tactics, but they are not one of the large two players in Aleppo at the current moment. So, all right. So sure, a little bit weird that our ally is also aligned with Al-Qaeda, that we are indeed fighting alongside Al-Qaeda fighters. The problem is it's not as clear cut. It's not just, it's not just Al-Qaeda. If we look at some of the things that have been reported by independent journalism and people on the ground in Aleppo, and there's not many, so there's a lot of journalism coming from Aleppo of people that are not there. That said, if we look at some of the stories that we can confirm, so the refugees, or the people, the residents of Aleppo, when it was taken control by rebel forces, when it fell to rebel forces, they knew that was bad. They knew that now they lived in a city controlled by the opposition to Assad, and Assad is ruthless, right? Chemical weapons, airstrikes on civilians, he had been doing that. So it was not a good place to be. So a lot of them tried to leave, and there are confirmed stories of rebel forces, which is our team, gunning down civilians, not letting them leave. That's horrifying, right? We should not be an ally of anyone engaged in that behavior. It's pretty well a universal line. So the question becomes why. Now, this is a little bit more opinion. I think it's very strange that it's happened in Libya, it's happened in Iraq, it seems to be happening in Syria now. It doesn't matter how evil the opposition is. We seem to want to align with whatever side is going to change the regime, with whoever is going to get out of power the person currently in power that is not an ally and not cooperating with us. And that's obviously a much larger topic, but I wanted to get you guys thinking. So when you hear these stories coming out of Aleppo, you hear this, oh, rebel forces are great, Americans backing the rebel forces, Russia bad, Assad bad. Yes, Russia's bad, Assad's bad, they are carrying out airstrikes on civilians. No one should tolerate that. We should all stand up against that. However, the rebel forces that we are backing are, by no doubt, some of the ruthless, gutless, most gutless fighters in the area at this time. They have targeted civilians. They have restricted access. They have, they're not just in this for freedom. They're in this, for many of them, for profit, kidnappings and the like, and just other forms of terrorism. And that's who we're backing. And that matters. Should we be backing them? Probably not, but yes, Assad seems to be, a bad dude as well. But I think when you have two sides that are that evil, you have to be the peacekeeper. You have to be stepping in and saying that neither is acceptable. We're against both of you guys. So the grand scheme of things is just keep your eyes open. Keep thinking. When you hear good things about rebel forces in Aleppo, it's because the journalism is slanted that way. Both of these sides are completely in the wrong, completely evil, and I wish more people knew that and were aware of that, because until a week ago, guys, I wasn't even aware of how bad it is, and I did the digging, and it got ugly fast. So, I obviously hope the best for people in Aleppo and any innocent civilians in Syria and any other civil war. But there you have it. There's a breakdown of a little bit what we're seeing. Daily Merge. We will be back tomorrow morning with more headlines. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good night.